to another issue that I know is on Peter and Becca's minds and the minds of many Vermonters. And that is the movement toward authoritarianism in this country.
Yes.
All right, before I get there, I do want to say, when what Peter and Becca and I are saying is in fact what the overwhelming majority of the American people believe. There was a poll that came out recently from Kaiser Family Foundation. 78% of Americans, including 59% of Republicans, want to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. So what we are talking about is what the overwhelming majority of people in Vermont, Democrats, Republicans, Independents want, and that is true nationally as well. All right. I hear a lot from people in Vermont, as I'm sure Peter and Becca do, about this really scary stuff in the sense that we now have a president who does not believe in the Constitution, does not believe in the rule of law, thinks that he has the right to send masked agents all over this country, picking people up off of the street, throwing them into vans, taking them God knows where, that he thinks he has. We heard yesterday, Peter and I were in caucus, and we heard from Jeff Merkley in Oregon. Jeff represents Oregon, and what's happening in Portland is just really quite insane. Chicago. I just looked a few minutes ago, the president of the United States thinks that maybe we should arrest the governor of Illinois, arrest the mayor of Chicago. Really? Last week, he announced that they were holding back tens of billions of dollars in funding for states around the country, including Vermont. And you know what our crime was? People of Vermont, New York, New Jersey did not vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God. They didn't vote for Trump. Imagine, why would they get federal funding?
Yeah.
You are seeing absolutely illegal, what we call rescissions here, impoundment of money that was voted by the Congress, signed by the President of the United States. Trump is saying, you're not going to get it. I will send it to where I want to send it. You voted against me, you ain't getting it. All right, who wants to pick up? Becky, you want to say a word on that?
Well, we know how this ends because you can look at autocrats around the world, authoritarian governments around the world. This is how they operate. They see how much they can get away with. And when you see the images coming out of Portland and Chicago of our own National Guard being used against us, the other piece of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill that was passed that a lot of people don't realize, they supersized the budget for ICE to increase the reign of terror. And this is, I believe, to beat us into submission and silence. And it is outrageous for a president to say, I'm going to arrest my political enemies. I mean, it is insane, and we cannot normalize it.
And that is what's happening. Well, it is what's happening. The immediate battle for us is to protect healthcare for Americans. But really, there's a larger issue that both of you have been talking about. There is a total and complete abuse of power. The president does not have legal authority to withhold funding that's been approved for universities. He doesn't have the authority to tell a company that wants to sell chips that you've got to give us 10% of the chips. He doesn't have authority to tell his attorney general to prosecute somebody because they're an enemy. But he has the ability and the power of that office where he can make life so difficult for an academic institution, a company, an individual who's a political appointment, that he terrifies them, and rightly so. But that's why it's so important for us to resist and resist now, because the more we relent to this power, the more endangered we all are. And my sadness, it's Becca, you've said this too, I just can't believe my colleagues in the Senate, where our responsibility is to be a separate and co-equal branch of government. The whole point of our separation of powers is the wisdom that you can't concentrate power in one man or woman or one institution. And unless we're willing in the Senate to stick up for the constitutional obligation that the Constitution gives us to be a separate and equal branch of government, we're imperiled.